All right, everybody. Welcome to the grand finale of Destination Unknown. Yes, Destination Unknown. And we, of course, gave you a lot of interesting ideas. We gave you some interesting challenges. I loved how many people participated in this challenge. Of course, that made it a little bit difficult to judge. So, before we get to the finalists, I just want to let you know, and I know this sounds like a bit of a cliche, but by participating, you really did win. And I mean that. We had a lot of great submissions. If you are not read today, realize that this was a very difficult decision for us. Uh, there was a lot of thinking about it, and it's not a sign that you need to whatever put up your laptop, that you need to quit or anything like that. Please do not be discouraged. This was a very challenging decision for us, and of course we love that. We love it when it's a challenging decision, but it's very possible that if we had done this in a couple days, the results might be a little bit different. It was close, and I expect the final voting is going to be close as well. You were evil, but that's what we love about you. Though at first I despised the twist, I really helped me to tighten up at my writing. Yes, that's the whole idea, right? It was in the spirit of fun, and it was, of course, in the spirit of adventure. Now, just a little recap. Maybe you're joining us for the first time. You could still participate in that. You can help us today because we're going to read the finalists, and then you get to decide who is the grand winner. I know, right? Very exciting. Oh, sorry, but let me go back. Everybody was tasked to have this opening line. A name is usually the first thing we learn about a person. So you're going to hear that over and over today. And then we told everybody they could not use pronouns or names for the initial part of the sentence. The initial word could not be a pronoun or a name. Okay. And then we gave the final line, which was you had to use, guess you could say, I finally clawed my way to the top. That was the requirement. You had to include that verbatim. And I will say, mostly everybody did follow the prompt. We did have to eliminate some just because they didn't follow the rules. But for the most part, yeah, you listened. So good job, everybody. Fantastic, for sure. Okay. That being said, please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel because we have more challenges coming your way. Next month, in a couple of weeks, we're going to next month in a couple of weeks, we're going to start a whole new challenge. So be prepared for that. It's going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be quite as twisty as this one. It's going to be quick and nimble, and it's going to be a series of challenges versus one big one to last the month. So stay tuned for that. Next week, though, I'm actually going to be back on to talk about keeping yourself accountable and increasing your productivity. So we're going to have a session on that in between the challenges, and then we will start the challenge the week after that. But we did tell you, of course, to sign up for free to the Destination Unknown. And one of the reasons why was the opportunity to win prizes, prizes, prizes. So I'm going to give away a few prizes here. And this is just for participating. This is just for signing up. Okay. So the first prize that I want to give away is one of our story doctor sessions. This is usually with me. Although, if you want to maybe discuss horror or fantasy or something else, maybe you'd like somebody else, that's fine. Although I do know fantasy, but this is a chance to talk to one of our story experts for about a half an hour about anything you want. So you can talk about, I mean, I wouldn't recommend asking us about your taxes, but you can really ask whatever you would like. Okay. So the winner of this prize is, I believe the name based on the email is Anne Stone, although it could just be Anne and Stone is part of the email. But congratulations to you, Anne, no matter what. Um, you have won a prize, which is a story doctor. All right. The next prize that we're going to give away is going to be a Nightmare Fuel course admission. So you can join us for Nightmare Fuel uh, at no cost to yourself. And that's going to be given away here. Running my random number generator. I know. Uh, very technically advanced here. And that is going to go to Shuba an Iyengar, Iyengar. So congratulations to you. You can join us for Nightmare Fuel, which is awesome. Okay. And then the final prize that I'm going to give away is a lifetime membership to AutoCrit. I know it's a big deal. It's a big prize. Being a lifer is huge. You can join us for all of our events forever. You can check out, but you can never leave. You know how it works. Um, all right. And who is the grand winner of this? All right. The grand winner of this is Diamond Ross, I believe is the name. It's at least the name in my system. So congratulations to you. And you will get an email and a update and so on and so forth. All right, so we're going to transition from our grand winners there to, of course, what you're all here for, which are the finalists. Now, somebody was asking, how do we vote? Well, you're going to vote in a minute after I reveal all of the finalists, and I'm going to read all the finalists. Keep in mind as we go, as much as you can. Some people do not give titles. I do try to give a description, and I'm going to give you the description as I go about what it's going to be in our little voting at the end, so you can find it. I'll give a little description for it. These are going to be in no particular order. And so let us go ahead and pivot to the finalists, beginning with this one. And I think I have a name for this one. Yes, this one is called Stolen. All right, let's go. A name is usually the first thing we learn about a person. Whatever, I'm not interested in names. Retrieving Angie is my only objective. If I had it my way, it'd be a quick in and out ordeal, but that's not how things roll when she's involved. A month has passed since Angie disappeared from LAX. Tracking her up the coast from the airport to the first location took me over 2 weeks. Finding that building empty was devastating. 3 days to track them to an abandoned office building. Another 4 days to find this one. Please, let her be here. No breeze comes off the bay tonight. The reek of rotting fish hangs in the humid air. Gulls screech in the distance and rats chatter in the dumpsters. The twinge of a headache stings my temples. Closing my eyes, I take a deep breath in to calm my nerves. Bad idea. Such a bad idea. The stench of decaying flesh pours into my nostrils, fills my lungs, and I gag. If they hadn't already killed my sister, I'm going to do it myself. Bouncing on my toes from one foot to another like a boxer preparing for a fight, I attempt to shake out my stiff muscles and anxiety. Easy peasy, you can do this. The quicker you fetch her, the quicker you can go home. Looking up into the starless sky, stop bouncing and take a fighting stance. Reaching both hands to my left hip, I pull an imaginary sword from its sheath and hold the hilt at eye level. For the honor of Fantasia, we are the Monster Squad, I whisper in a deep, commanding voice, then giggle. None of these words have any bearing on what's about to happen, but as a child of the 80s with OCD tendencies, I can't help myself. Yeah, I combined a few shows. Why choose just one? Grabbing the hem of my shirt, I pull it up and over my head. The rest of my clothes follow. Standing naked in the shadows sends a wave of nerves through my body. Taking a moment to fold everything, I deposit my clothing in a plastic bag and hide it behind the nearest dumpster. Procrastination at its best. Turning my sun-kissed face to the inky night sky, I pray for the strength to do this. Here we go, I say as my bones begin to break and reform. The pain contorts my face into a grimace. The sensation of my body fracturing and rebuilding itself will always be unnerving. A smooth, grayish-brown coat flows over my skin. In about 30 seconds, I'm transformed from a woman of average height to a common street rat. Why can't Angie transform and get herself out of this mess? The eldest child inherits the gift. The thought of her and her temper being able to shapeshift makes me cringe. A split in the rusty siding allows me entrance into the wall. Scampering down the east side, my nose works frantically to detect her juniper berry lotion. Nope, nothing along the north wall either. A few feet down the west wall, I catch the faintest whiff of it. The bitter tang of drugs, blood, and death is infused in it. Splayed out on a dirty pile of blankets are Angie and four other girls. The tattered, dirt-crusted sundress clinging to her slender form was her favorite. Cautiously, I make my way across the dirt floor to the girls. The stink of death becomes more pungent. Dead. Dead. The girls are all dead. No, no, she can't be dead. Cold. The skin under my tiny paws so cold. Sadness and guilt wash over me, but I shove the emotions deep down to deal with another day and allow another to surface. Rage sears through me as I morph into a grizzly bear. Splinters from the flimsy wooden door rain down on the armed men in the hallway, confusing, marring their faces. The next few minutes are an out of body experience as I allow my anger to fuel the bear's rampage. Mighty jaws crush the shoulder of the nearest human and I rip his arm from his body. Droplets of blood and gore join the splinters. Barreling down the hallway, I slash and snap at everyone. No man is left untouched. A path of agony is left in my wake. How fast or slow they died doesn't matter because I'm sure they didn't give a damn about what Angie endured. Rounding the corner, the men in this corridor are more prepared. Guns out, they stand their ground and fire at me. Don't stop. Rage numbs the physical pain of the bullets slamming into my body. Momentum carries me through the few assailants left in my path, and I eviscerate them with tooth and claw. The rest of the halls don't take long to clear. Behind the doors, I can hear women whispering, but I'm not seeking them. A scent I picked up from my sister's body is what I'm hunting now. Cheap cologne and the odor of a disgusting human being and the unspeakable things he did to her. The stench is thicker in this direction. The door I stop at is unlike the others in the building, solid and well built, protecting what lies behind it. Not tonight. 4-inch claws tear at the wood, forming deep gouges. Tipping my carnage laden face up, I let out a frustrated roar. The door buckles beneath my frantic paws. Standing behind the desk is a lanky man I assume is responsible for this operation. The one that stole my sister from me. The abhorrent human stares at me, bewildered. Taking my time with this one will be a pleasure. Guess you could say I finally clawed my way to the top. All right, so that is the first one here. And that one is called Stolen, and it will be also known as the one that is a shifter, a grizzly bear. Actually, I need to type that in here really quick, so just give me a moment. Discuss amongst yourself. All right, we are moving on to our next one, which is entitled Much Ado About Muffins. A name is usually the first thing we learn about a person. That's not the way it works with cats. What the hell kind of name is Muffins? Adorned with a fur, vivaciously stunning, velvetly caramel coat, and armed with a superior intellect, I am no delicate tea time pastry. The heavy weight of a humiliating moniker only surpasses the decision of my human Lewis to have me declawed. Within the confines of this dark, musty studio apartment, memories of a beloved scratching post, infused with the invigorating scent of pine and catnip, haunt every corner. The hollow mush of my neutered pads slides across the formica countertops, conjuring echoes of curtains once courageously climbed and sofas satisfyingly shredded. Faint remnants of joy now unreachable, stripped from my mitts by a ponytailed sadist in a white coat embroidered with the name Dr. Sandy. Under the hypnotic spell of glaring screens, Lewis sits unremorseful, his eyes glazed, watching overexcited humans spin a giant wheel in a worthless competition to unveil baffling symbols as ludicrous and elusive as me chasing my own tail. All the while, he is cramming fistfuls of salty, pungent snacks into his gaping maw, accompanied by the fizz and pop of a myriad of cans and bottles. The noxious air that erupts either from his top or his bottom stings my eyes and wilts my whiskers. To know him is to hate him. Of course, the Vacus lump is unaware he's about to suffer the full measure of my wrath. Are you so naive to think that adding a dollop of cream to my milk and filling my bowl with moist morsels of delectability is enough to earn my forgiveness? Fat chance, fat boy. Vengeance, thy name is Muffins. Taking down a human 10 times my size demands patience and courage, two qualities I possess in abundance. Refusing to leave a single hairball to chance, I turn to Waldo, my blue rubber squeaky mouse with a wisdom that's disturbing given his limited facial expression. Approval and admiration sparkle in his flat black eyes as I lay out my scheme to reestablish the pecking order that drops Lewis somewhere between Waldo and the Roomba. While Lewis fumbles with tonight's culinary oddity, Salisbury steak, a dish bearing a startling resemblance to a recent deposit in my litter box, I apply the finishing touches on Operation Yarn Snare. The plan is lethally simple. A discreetly placed line of red yarn is set to topple his tower of untouched self help books onto his unsuspecting kinkles, thereby sending him flying face first into the shag carpet abyss. Eyes glued to a small glowing device in his hand, Lewis moves with the agility of a sloth on sleeping pills. Closer and closer he approaches his dune, the yarn taut and quivering anticipation, and then, no! Without a second glance, he is avoiding snagging his fuzzy slippered feet on the yarn. Never would you think a dolt with situational awareness as sparse as his hairline would have the wherewithal to avoid disaster so nonchalantly. Undeterred, Waldo and I regroup. Time for Operation Faceplant. A fern sits on the windowsill, its drooping fronds embodying a level of pathetic sadness even my emotional fortitude can't ignore. With a gentle paw nudging it off the edge is what I do. In an uncanny maneuver, Lewis sidesteps the falling greenery to pick up a sock. Missing its mark, the pot explodes in a cloud of topsoil. With an expression of disappointment similar to the one from a few minutes ago, Waldo admonishes me. Sigh. Refusing to surrender, I leap atop the refrigerator to launch my next attack. My piercing green eyes lock on Lewis as he finishes disposing of the plant debris and gazes out the window. Appearing almost sad with a tinge of loneliness, Lewis gazes out of the window, having tossed our friendship aside like yesterday's tuna. There's no time for such musings. My blender-based coup de grace Operation Blender Drop awaits. With another delicate push, the appliance is making its fatal descent. But before it reaches maximum velocity, a Zoom meeting chirp draws Lewis's attention. Bending down to investigate, he evades the falling appliance by mere inches. Frustration tugs at Waldo's painted lips and screams. Could he have a sixth sense? One wonders, my friend, one wonders. Suddenly, Waldo's eyes widen, I think. The warning comes too late. Lifting me like a common plush toy, Lewis cradle flips me and rubs my belly. The sensation overwhelms my senses, weakening my stoic resolve. Limbs once taught with superior agility go limp. Purrs rumble from my lips, grinding my lofty intentions to dust as Lewis coos, does the cutie woody kitten want some sugar? My fuzzy beauty wants daddy to tickle her silly? Take that inane baby voice down an octave, you. Ah, sweet kitty litter, our angels swinging. Drifting in and out of decadent bliss, my senses are ensnared in Lewis's dastardy cuddles. Looking on, Waldo's expression of guilty surprise mirrors my own. My fluffy tail curls and twitches at the ecstasy of his caress. What of his caress evokes pure after purr of pure delight. Bastard. With each pleasurable stroke of his seductive nail-biting sausage fingers, I think Waldo is right. Transfixed in a euphoric assault, a new scheme involving a recliner, a heating pad, and a chewed power cord forms in my imagination. Heed my words, you sadistic tummy rubber. Operation Shocking Recliner shall rise from the oversnuggled ashes. With a chiding look that looks like his other looks, Waldo suggests that perhaps I have already enslaved the big doofus with my charms in ways no clunk or flop could match. So go on, keep scratching, Lewis. Seriously, don't stop, you idiot. Spare me the sanctimonious side-eye, Waldo. Declawed or not, I've got this lumbering oaf wrapped around my tail. Guess you could say I finally clawed my way to the top. All right, so that one is Much Ado About Muffins. And I will have that in as the a bitter declawed cat. Okay, moving on to this one is untitled. Okay, so we'll have to go on the description. A name is usually the first thing we learn about a person. Funny, I thought so. As my fingertips caressed the cool glass in front of me, I feel like I already know so much more about you. A woman looked back at me from the other side of the glass, her hand also raised and touching the barrier between us. Despite the hard surface under my fingers, I swear I could almost feel the warmth from her hand where it lay underneath my own. The images of our fingers lined up perfectly, like two lovers desperate for a kiss. The woman watched me with bright, intelligent eyes, blue like the sky, I thought idly, but the thought had barely finished forming before a deep, uneasy feeling curdled my stomach. How many times had I heard my own eyes described that way? Additionally, her hair was burnished gold, the same color as mine, and fell over her shoulder in a long plait, falling nearly to her waist. The same hairline adorned my head, braided around the crown of my head before tumbling to the top of my hip. Side by side, the similarities between us were incredibly striking, matching curvy body shapes, underwhelming height, and even the same wire-thin scar that curved over my right cheekbone, although hers was on the left side of her face. Stepping a small step back at the same time, we both removed our hands from the glass and tucked into the pocket of our blue jeans, always moving as one. A reflection. That's what she was, an echo of me. However, despite the fact that my hand rested on the gilded mirror that graced the bathroom in my family's home, an inane part of me knew that she was not. The woman looking at me through the mirror was not my reflection, nor ever had been. Something deep inside of me was paralyzed by fear. I had only come in here to do makeup before heading to work, after all, and had instead found something masquerading as my reflection. If not for the very slight lag behind my movements, a tiny hesitation between when I moved and she followed, perhaps I wouldn't have never noticed at all. The far larger part of me was completely captivated. What was she to be such an exact replica of me? Where did she come from? Why was she here? Was it even a she, or merely something pretending to be human? Thoughts spinning, I was too fascinated by what I saw before me to truly consider how frightened I was. For the time being, this thing that looked like me seemed content to simply copy my actions, straightening my clothes, rebraiding my hair. Gripping the side of the low off white countertop, I even leaned forward until my forehead pressed against the glass, and the vision of her two blue eyes became one cyclopean orb. After a moment, I sighed and leaned back, chewing absent mindedly on the inside of my cheek as I pondered what to do. The part of my brain that had earned a bachelor's degree in biology was absolutely stunned at the discovery that lay before me, urging me to keep experimenting, to see to what extent this being would follow me. Could I communicate with it? My fingers toyed with the fluffy end of my braid as I wondered about the intellectual prowess of this newly discovered creature. And yet, it hadn't made any effort to contact me, really, other than mimicking me. What possibly could it hope to achieve by emulating me? A horrible thought crawled down my spine. What if it was mimicking me to learn how to act like a human? The hairs on the back of my neck stood at sharp attention as I tore my gaze away from my wandering fingers to find her gaze already on me, a sardonic twist lifting her lips into a half smile. Now, moving independently, she raised her right hand, pressing her palm against the glass, and pushed. Cracks spider-webbed beneath her hand, cracking the mirror into a dozen pieces still clinging to the frame. I sank deep into my chest, freezing my feet into place. A sudden realization that I was, in fact, in sudden and unknown amounts of danger activated my fight or flight reflex, and my body was too numb with fear to choose either. Mirror groaned from the force being applied to it, more cracks spilling from the point of impact and shattered inward, shards bouncing off the countertop and pulling around my feet. A blur of motion shot out through the cascading glass, resolving as a hand identical to mine that latched tightly around my throat. In desperation, I clawed at the arm holding me captive, but the fingers digging into my skin were impossibly strong. The woman, who is not my reflection, carefully stepped through the hole in the mirror, her body moving with alarming fluidity, maintaining her bone crushing grip on my throat. Choking and grasping, I struggled to push her off me, but she merely smiled my smile and flexed her finger. Crunch. The air in my lungs stopped flowing. As the edges of my vision began to darken, I gazed up at her, uncertain when I had fallen to the ground, lungs burning, throat booming with pain. The carpet cradled me as I heard, as if from a great distance, the woman speak in a voice like crackling ice. Free! Finally free! Victory shining in her voice, she crouched next to me, smoothing a chunk of hair out of my face, and whispered with pure, unadulterated glee. Guess you could say I finally clawed my way to the top. All right. Moving on. That one is unknown, and that would be known as reflection, I will say. All right. So this next one is called Yuko Bach. Bach. Okay. Or Yuko Bach, if that's what the name is. I'm guessing. A name is usually the first thing we learn about a person, but the last thing we learn about a demon. Once you know a demon by name, you have him by his balls. The demon sitting opposite Gabriel has a name, and it's his job to learn it. For days, the two have squared off in a micro apocalypse, commandeering the corner table at the only 24-hour business in town. Summoned by what was described as the innocent play of children, the demon occupies the mortal body of Jerry, a janitor who recently was employed by the school district. Vacate Jerry, Gabriel says for the 100th time. The man has a life to live. Taking a noisy slurp of decaf, the creature shakes Jerry's head. This guy has no life. Before I took over, he was just another chump working for his paycheck. Truth be told, demonic possession had done Jerry some good. Before, the man had been one hamburger away from cardiac arrest. Now his body is going to the gym and watching its diet. Even his A1C is down. But rules are rules, and Gabe can't allow demons to appropriate humans. Forcing your lifestyle choices onto a mortal violates the code. Give him back his free will. A rolling chuckle rattles through the cafe. Cups drop as coffee splashes onto hands and fingers. The collective glare of human disapproval emanates from every corner of the room. This guy has no free will. At work, he's a slave to every mouth in the building. At home, to his television. Even driving, he's in the thrall of each fast food joint he passes. Thanks to me, he's finally free. There is no freedom in the fires of hell. The words reverberate off walls in a sonic blast, toppling chairs and tables. You want to know what my version of hell is? Fire bursts from the demon's tongue. Sitting with you for eternity, trapped in a circular argument. This isn't an argument, it's a discussion. If you want to save this soulless puppet, why don't I move out of old Jerry here and into your golden head? Show some real sacrifice for a change. No, and don't talk about Jerry like that. The coffee shop erupts in a paranormal vortex as swarms of cutlery battle a cyclone of plates and cups. A window shatters with the impact of a flying espresso machine, is releasing a plague of coffee beans into the wild. Why should I free him? What do I get out of the deal? The demon asks. Heaven is no place for fiends, Gabe responds, forcing himself to regain his composure. A demon is expected to lose its cool, but angels must remain professional. Give me a single glimpse through those bright peepers for old time's sake. That's so far outside the rules, the old man would wring my neck with my own halo. What does the old man have to know? Because he's omnipotent. Free Jerry as a courtesy to me. No can do. And now that I finished my coffee, it's time to skedaddle. Places to haunt, peoples to scratch. In some past act of witchcraft, a hospitality curse was placed on the coffee shop, preventing customers from leaving before ordering one more cup. To bind the demon in place, Gabe only needs to order another round, which he does by gesturing towards the barista and snapping his fingers. Luckily, his expense account is infinite. Unluckily, the barista's patience is not. Wrap it up. In 5 minutes, I'm calling the cops, she says, slamming two cups and a 10-foot stretch of receipt on the table. Memories flicker at the corners of Gabe's mind as he reviews his tab. While the demon thing is disguised under layers of Jerry, there's something familiar about its movements. Sometime in early eternity, they've known each other. If only Gabe could remember his name. For a second, Gabriel considers the demon's offer. Would it hurt to let him see heaven for a day or two? Surely he'd not last long enough to report back to Satan, Lucifer, or whatever name he was calling himself these days. The old man would demand to know why Gabe allowed a demon to possess him. But saving Jerry was a worthy goal, and weren't they supposed to help every sparrow who fell to earth? And that's what Jerry was, a sparrow, a fragile and precious being. The guy was only trying to put in his 40 and watch a bit of television. What did he do to deserve eternal damnation? Revelation hits him in the form of a tip jar pitched by the openly hostile barista. The demon's name is Uko Bach. In the days before the fall, Ugo Bach was a fry cook. Like Jerry, he was just another workaday slob who kept heaven running while upper management showed off their wings. The name is so far down on Gabe's mental list as to be invisible that he remembers it at all as a miracle. What he does remember is that guy made damn good french fries. Perhaps I could save them both, he thinks, deciding to keep the name to himself. Was Ukobach a bad guy, or had he been misled by his superiors? Okay, Gabe says at last, if this is what it takes to free Jerry, I'll give you your glimpse of heaven. Immediately, the body that is once again Jerry slumps to the ground. A pain as sharp as a flaming sword penetrates the angel's subconsciousness as his personality splits. The demon's power takes Gabe by surprise as Ukobach wheedles himself so deeply into his heart that he's all but undetectable. How am I supposed to get you out of there? The angel asks, perturbed as much as himself as at Ukobach. The demon laughter rattles Gabe's teeth as its words broadcast through divine nerve cells. Well, guess you could say I finally clawed my way to the top. All right, so that one is Ukobach, and it'll also be known as Demon Fry Cook. Okay. And now the next one is entitled, hold on here, Trains Don't Wait for Impractical Boots. Okay. A name is usually the first thing we learn about a person. The illustrious Viscount Stephania became a modern legend recently when she bested Earl Beaumouth in a duel. The king gifted her Beaumouth stateroom car, which was coupled to the train I was taking to the coast. Unlikely I would see her while seated in coach. Last call, shouts from the conductor were already announcing our departure when I reached my train. Dragging my luggage up the stairs to the gangway, I set it down to check my ticket for my seat assignment. Steam billowed from the stack as the pistons hissed and the gears began to grind. Wait, wait! A desperate cry sounded from a woman with high-heeled boots, better suited for strutting than running. A travel-worn valise bounced off of the ground every few feet as she struggled to balance the awkward bag, her other hand holding her bowler hat to her head. The conductor exhibited no signs of helping her, and the other passengers were boarded. On impulse, I jumped off the gangway, leaving my luggage in the vestibule, and dashed towards the woman, shouting over the grinding roar, "Let me help you!" Fortunately, she didn't take me for a thief and handed me her bag before sprinting on her tiptoes like a gazelle. Shit, the luggage was more off balance than I imagined. Stepping onto the gangway with surprising grace, she grabbed a rail with one hand and took her valise from me as I got a foot on the stairs. Tossing her bag behind her, she hoisted me up. The train lurched, sending us toppling over the baggage into the vestibule, laughing as we landed in a tangled mess of luggage and limbs. Getting to our feet, I got my first real look at her. Saying she wasn't beautiful didn't acknowledge the confidence in her eyes and the wit in her smile that lured my interest. Sea green eyes stalked me as I retrieved her hat, which fell beside us, and placed it on her head. A few escaped strands of chestnut hair hinted at a curly mane, tamed by her otherwise perfect bun. Hey, thanks. Without your help, there was no way I would have made it. Another train won't be heading to the coastline for at least a week. Tucking the loose strands of hair behind her ears and straightening her clothing, she asked, "Can I buy you a drink?" Seriously, most women won't let me buy them a drink. Before I lost my chance, I said, "That would be nice." The corner of her mouth turned up, amused. "Come now, you must be kidding." Realizing my sincerity, she added, "What silly girls! Maybe you'll have better luck with a lady." Leading the way to the dining car, she said, "That was quite a thrill. Had I not worn these overpriced boots, I would have caught that believes practicality is for the commoners." Well, you should be okay wearing them now. Doubt there will be any more excitement here on the train. Oh, flashing me with an impish smile, she watched me from the corner of her eye. Don't be so sure. And who said you were safe? The unexpected statement caused me to bang my valise into another passenger, to whom I apologized several times. Arriving at the dining car, we chose a small table near the window where we left our bags. Hooking her arm in mine, she led me to the bar. "What's your poison, hero?" "Merlot," I said, but she shook her head. 2 whiskey, straight up, she told the bartender. Winking at me, she teased, "Don't worry, I'll walk you home." Once at the table with our drinks, she knocked back half of hers before asking, "What's your name?" Caught in the middle of a sip of stronger spirits than my usual dry red, I coughed and choked out, "Oh, of course, how rude of me. Fitzroy Fairdale, yours?" "Ah, pleasure to meet you, Fitzroy, Undeterred by the blaring train whistle, she continued speaking through the din, masking her words. "Sorry, I missed your name." Seeming to reconsider the lost word, she said, "Please call me Steph." Hours flew by as we exchanged stories. Keeping the conversation focused on me, she had endless questions about my job as a magi engineer designing magic powered devices. Other passengers came and went, but we were oblivious. While I talked, Steph would bite her lower lip, distracting me from my story and causing her to giggle. The 2 whiskey glasses were now empty for the second time, maybe third. Our hands rested innocently on the table, drawing ever closer with subconscious desire. "Where are you seated?" Reaching for my ticket, Steph placed her hand on mine, stopping me. "Regardless of who I was, you would have jumped off that train to help," she said with wonder. Grabbing my jacket lapels, she pulled me halfway across the table into a potent kiss. Scents of vanilla and jasmine filled my nose, and the spicy tang of whiskey flooded my mouth as our lips parted and our kiss intensified. Reluctantly breaking the kiss, Steph adjusted my jacket, smoothing the lapels with her hands. "Would it be presumptuous for me to invite you to my stateroom?" "Stateroom?" Then I put together. "Wait, are you Viscount Stefania?" "Mm-hmm," she nodded. "The couches are luxurious, and there's a queen-size bed, perfect for continuing our cozy conversation without these impractical boots. Or with them, but I'll leave it up to you." How can I possibly say no to that? Pulling me close enough for another kiss. What a week! Not only did I win a duel and appropriate a personal stateroom, but I also found a man who appreciates a capable woman. Guess you could say I finally clawed my way to the top. All right. That one was sorry, what was the name of it? Trains don't wait for impractical boots. All right. Moving on to the next one here. This one is called The Mysteries of a Name. A name is usually the first thing we learn about a person. Surely you know that, right? My counterpart shrugged with a smirk. Yes, a peculiar custom, if you ask me. In contrast, I tend to disclose my name only to the ones who've earned it. "Earned it?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "How does somebody earn the disclosure of a name?" "Not just any name. My name," he remarked and peered directly into my eyes as if he could peer right through them into my soul. "Well, I won't tell you. To make things interesting, you'll have to find your own way." After a second of staring at him, I shook my head, partly in disbelief and partly because I couldn't look into his emerald green eyes any longer without losing my mind to this arrogant but oddly attractive guy. "No, I definitely won't," I snapped. "That's unfortunate," he shrugged. Annoyed, I put my glass on the bar. "Well, thank you for the drink, anyway." Without looking at him again, I turned around and walked back to my friend's table. "So?" Sarah inquired, wiggling her eyebrows. Sitting down, I shrugged. He brought me a drink. At first, he seemed kind of nice, but then things got weird." "Weird like what?" "No idea, but I don't think he's interested." "And I'm not interested either," I told myself. "Idiot," Sarah exclaimed. "However, he's kind of cute, though." "Tell me about it," I sighed, my eyes tracing the enigmatic figure through the veil of my hair, curiosity and annoyance intertwining in the dimly lit bar. As the clock's hands made their rounds, I couldn't stop myself from looking at the man from time to time. Whenever I did, he sat where I had left him, sipping his drink occasionally. Although there was no obvious indication, I got the feeling he was lonely and sad. Probably I'm just projecting what I would feel if I sat alone in a bar all night, I thought. Later, I noticed another woman approaching him. Although he didn't seem interested, she stayed around and talked to him. With a sigh, I wondered if he had told the other woman his name. None of my business, I told myself, and focused back on my friend Sarah. For the rest of the night, I managed not to stare at the man too often, just often enough to note that his female acquaintance had become considerably drunk. Finally, Sarah and I decided to leave. Outside, Sarah glanced at her phone. "Oh, shoot, I have to hurry to catch my bus." After a hug, she jogged away, and I was alone, waiting for my taxi. My breath formed clouds in the cold of the night, and I wrapped my arms around myself. After a few minutes that felt like hours, my phone announced my taxi. Suddenly, the loud noise from the bar pierced through the silence of the night, and I whirled around. Out of the bar came the nameless man and his acquaintance. At that moment, my taxi came to a halt a few steps in front of me. Before I could reach it, the man already opened the door and helped the woman enter. Hey, I yelled, but they ignored me. Come on, George, the woman giggled and tried to grab him. No, he refused. Take care, Beth. Without looking at her, he shut the door and the taxi drove away. That was my taxi, I complained and walked toward him. Sorry, but Beth needed it more than you. She was a little tipsy. Is that how she earned the privilege of learning your secret name, George? I snapped. No, he answered with an exasperated look. Sometimes it's easier to give people a fake name so they don't get too intrigued. Why didn't you tell me a fake name then? Because I wanted you to get intrigued, he explained with a wink. Why? No idea, he admitted and stepped onto the road. Apparently, he didn't see the car approaching as quickly. Watch out, I screamed, grabbed his arm and pulled him toward me. Both of us stumbled and fell, ending up with him on top of me. For some time, I was hypnotized by his eyes, which were only inches away from me. Thank you, he whispered, and my gaze wandered to his lips. Without thinking, I raised my head and kissed him. After a few seconds, he pulled away. That's unexpected, he murmured, rolled over, and sat up beside me. Sorry, I mumbled and sat up too. No need to apologize, he said with a shy smile. Honestly, I thought you didn't like me. Well, you don't make it easy to like you. Sorry, I'm not good with your kind, he explained and looked down. My kind? Yes, he sighed. To be honest, I'm not human. I'm a shifter. That's the reason I didn't tell you my name. Every time someone says my real name, Ferrum, I partly change into a wolf. Good joke, Ferrum, I replied ironically. Is it? He asked. Please don't be afraid. With these words, he slowly raised his hand, which, to my surprise, was no longer a hand, but a claw. A few hours later, we still sat on the side of the road. At first, I didn't believe him. Then I was afraid, but finally I accepted that shifters existed and that I kind of fell for one. Thanks for not running away, he whispered and kissed me again. And sorry for being so arrogant when we met. Lately, I was feeling pretty down, and that didn't benefit my social skills. All forgiven, I said. Are you still feeling down? With a smile, he shook his head. No thanks to you. My time down in the hole of dark emotions is over, he explained and looked down at his hand, which was still a claw. Guess you could say I finally clawed my way to the top. All right. Let's move on here. That was The Mysteries of a Name. So that's going to be no, sorry, mystery of a name. What is it? Let me get that right. The Mysteries of a Name. The Mysteries of a Name, and it will be known as Wolf or Werewolf Shapeshifter, just to make it clear. All right. What's in a name? A name is usually the first thing we learn about a person. In combat, learning whether you can count on them or not might be the last thing you ever learn. The first time I met Greg Gunnar Gunderson was minutes before takeoff in the back of a C 130 spooling on the flight line at Fort Eustis outside Newport News. Our first operation together, the plane was holding for me and I was late. Arriving from the farm, I grabbed my gear, double timed over the security checkpoint, and fumbled for my ID. The MP asked, Shagnesi? Yeah, Specialist Shagnesi, I said. Where can I find Delta team leader named Gunderson? Sucks to be you. Wait, what? Thinking I misheard the MP. The Herc down at the end of the runway? Loaded up and waiting for you, Specialist. And he hates excuses as much as he hates missing a scheduled wheels up. The Herc? The C 130 Hercules, he pointed. The one running with the prop spinning, the only bird on the runway waiting to leave. That was mean. Sprinting like my life depended on it, my pack punched at my kidneys as each boot hit concrete. Winded, I reached the plane. Rounding the tail to the ramp, I came face to face with a snarling, barking giant German shepherd straining his handler's leash. Halt and identify yourself, another MP screamed over above the engine noise. Ah, that is a huge dog. Despite my shrinking, I held out hope I didn't sound too girly. Specialist Shagnesi looking for Delta team leader Gunderson. Real smooth. No, I didn't wet my pants at all. Sucks to be you, specialist. Been expecting you. Straight on up, all the way forward. Can't miss him. What's up with the air quotes? This smirk's a little dickish too. Of course, they are military police, so up the ramp, 80 pounds of pack and my Barrett Browning's case conspired with gravity to drag me backwards. Bumping past bullets of gear, I found webbed seats, 8 per side. 15 hard looking armed men glared at me, the one empty seat next to the hardest of them all. Standing before Gunderson, I expected the worst. Swell, a master sergeant. Yay. Out of breath, I said, Special Nico Shagnesi, Master Sergeant. Sit down, dumbass. Crew can't take off with the FNG in the aisle, he said over the roar of the engines, never opening his eyes. Can't be asleep. Gotta be going for the stone cold killer effect, because it intimidated the hell out of me. Fair enough. Sitting on their thumbs, waiting for a cherry specialist to waltz in after cookies with the CO. Didn't matter, my briefing was miles away with their commanding officer at Camp Perry, a CIA training facilities the spooks called the farm. Late is dangerous. Late gets people dead. Only the mission clock mattered to these guys. A chair force load master speaking into a chin mic said, Roger that, Major. Our little lost lamb joined the flock. Leaning his head toward Gunderson, covering his mouthpiece, he said, Oscar Mike. The crew's aware the tardy dumbass is aboard and the team is finally on the move. The pilot released the brakes before I buckled in. The aircraft raced down the runway, engines at full throttle. Airborne at 350 miles per hour, we banked south towards the jungles of Colombia. Turning toward Gunderson, I apologized. Sorry to keep you waiting, Master Sergeant. The colonel called me into a target briefing with these spooks at hello, Master Sergeant. Henderson snored away, rivaling the engines for pitch and volume. Damn it, he is asleep. The guy on my left, shifting his ruck, said, He does it every op. Sleeps like the dead. 30 mics out. Bingo, he'll wake up. 30 minutes, like a switch. Turning, I thought from the briefing, this would have to be think of me as your violent, overbearing mother away from home. First Sergeant Pete Puccini. When not in the presence of cake eaters, everyone calls me Pooch. So you're our new Reaper. Reporting for duty, DMA Specialist Nick Shaughnessy. DMA. Oh, Shaughnessy. Sorry, that's right. Sorry, reading names. I did this live, of course. Defense Mapping Agency. And here it comes. Defense Mapping Agency, he snorted. Those CIA spooks are getting creative, hiding their black bag crews and off-book budgets. What are your qualifications? Infantry school, EIB, 1-5 Ranger School, Sniper Basic with the extracurriculars. I rattled off my training. Finished SOTIC in June, first sergeant, I said with pride. And do we have any cake eaters present? Puccini asked, not counting the pilot and co-pilot, because they're cloud pounders, but also they're in the cockpit doing flyboy shit, he said with an infantryman's disdain for their gravity-defying brethren who thought themselves somehow gifted with superpowers. Sorry, Sergeant Pooch. Important thing is, it simplifies comms. Everyone needs a call sign, he said. Expert infantry badge, ranger school, jump school, basic sniper, urban and high angle sniper, and special operations target interdiction. Qualified top in your classes since you're sitting with us. Without having to be all you can be or any regular army crap grunts like me deal with. My unconventional recruitment must have made interesting reading. Yes, Sarge. Pooch, here comes the other shoe. Later, we will revisit the hows and whys of our visit of your journey. Okay, not threatening. All at Benning, everything but SOTIC, I said. SOTIC's at Bragg, First Sergeant. At ease, Mick. Copy that. Name's Mick, though. Irish, right? O'Shaughnessy. Cut me and I bleed green corned beef and cabbage. Pooch, I said, proud of myself for getting the hang of this nickname stuff. Have Doc check that out. From now on this team, your call sign's Mick, he said, chuckling. No disrespect to your drunken forefathers. Copy that, Pooch. Man, I hate nicknames. Still, Flak Op with the baddest operators on the planet. Guess you could say I finally clawed my way to the top. All right, so that's what's in a name. And I'm going to have a call sign in there since that's not a completely clear title. All right. Next we have, hold on here. I just want to double check something here. What do we got? Uh, yes. Okay. Next we have of monsters and men. A name is usually the first thing we learn about a person. In the daylight world, they come with lineage and history. In the supernatural world, names like Van Helsing, Bloodstone, Dracul, Ardmore, and Lavo are powerful. Power and prestige are banked in those names, and each generation can build or ruin their family name. For instance, my surname, Calvo, is cursed by monster and hunter alike, myself included. There's a reason. See, Duke Calvo was a man and one of the biggest monsters of them all. That man, he used people. Family, friends, enemies, didn't matter. They were just things to be used without a second thought. That's a reputation that's hard to live down. Trust me, I've been trying for over 400 years. Whether I'm working as the sheriff of the supernatural side of New Orleans or as agent of balance, I'm still a Calvo. Most folks, they call me Cal. Matter of fact, the only people who call me by my morally and mortally challenged father's surname don't know better or are trying to start something. Sometimes both. Over the years and generations, some enemies became friends, some friends have become enemies, and some families, I'm both. Let's face it, some things can never be lived down or forgiven. Consider the tale of young Devereaux. The name Devereaux was tainted by his granddaddy when he damned the soul of 27 church going innocents trying to bait a Wendigo. That boy's been trying to regain what was lost, and I can appreciate that. So he came to New Orleans wanting to parlay, waving a white flag, and all I had to do was meet with him. Even though in these parts, if you want to meet peaceable, like you follow the three B's: beer, boil, and bourbon. Does more important to meaning, the more B's you use. A white flag is just a flag. And yes, I am having to read a dialect, so I uh I hope you enjoy this. Okay. Put the damn thing down and start talking, I said. Sir, don't sir me. That flag don't mean nothing here, as you damn well know it. Got to give the boys credit. He didn't run away, and he did manage to choke out an apology. Let's face it, you don't survive a fight against a blood demon by getting flustered easy. Sir, I need to ask your blessing. Permission, he said, stammering just enough to sound ill at ease. Blessings and permission, them's courtin' words, and there's only one person in my life fit that bill. This here boy wanted to court my goddaughter, Aslan Ardmore. Leastwise, that was what he was saying. Poor Lamore did do a son. I ate the what you should be asking. While I appreciate your adherence to tradition, you should be asking the lady's permission, not mine. But her father, he's dead, and there's no way her grandfather would allow someone like me to court her. The boy was good, but he weren't that good. People play games, and Devereaux, he was too young to play me. The blessing he wanted was a decent ruse, but it was a ruse. Everybody in the supernatural world know there ain't no good blood between Arliss, Ardmore, and me, and Devereaux was banking on it. That man, he an old goat that ain't never gonna make things easy for nobody. Best make your peace with that and move on. But I can't just move on. I love her too much. Ain't no such thing. Man does what a man has to do for the ones he loves. Glad you understand that, he said, and the glint in that boy's eyes told me what I needed to know. Like I said, I'm old enough to recognize the predator behind that sheepish smile he offered. Now I just had to figure out which of us he's aiming to kill first and which he was going to blame for it. The answer wasn't long in coming. I barely felt the knife when he stabbed me. That weren't enough for him, though. Woke up in a pit of alligator. It's one thing about gators. They ain't concerned about names. They only care about roots of tooth and claw. Got to give Devereaux his due. As a man, I didn't stand a chance, but I'm not just a man. When it comes to all things green and scaly, I can more than hold my own. In the morning, I got on the phone. When I first met Aslan's granddaddy, caller ID weren't invented, but things changed and nothing could prepare me for the temperature drop I felt over the phone when the old goat himself answered the phone and uttered one word with so much venom it echoed in my head. Calvo. Listen here, Ardmore, you were right about sending that boy down here. I do believe he intends to build his reputation by eliminating you and marry into your family. How's he going to do it? Looking for a lot of stammering and stuttering before he stabs you in your back. That's what he's done with me. Done when? Last night. Probably come for you tonight, maybe tomorrow. Thank you. I can take it from here. Sorry, son, it don't work that way. I'm just warning you in case I fail. This here city is mine and I represent it. If and I don't handle it on my ground, folks think they can walk all over the parish. Can't have that. No, I guess not. Let me know what happens and I'll bring the bourbon. Fair enough. In that case, the beer and the boil are on me. Business taken care of, I went hunting. Weren't hard to find Devereaux, weren't like he was hiding, but he sure was surprised to see me. How? Pointing to myself, I smiled and answered, Chupacabra. Guess you could say I finally clawed my way to the top. All right. So that was of Monsters and Men. I'll put that in as New Orleans there. Or Chupacabra. I guess we'll say New Orleans. And then we have one final one here. Not Caroline. A name is usually the first thing we learn about a person. Not true for the guy who just shoved me into his trunk. Names were not exchanged. All I know about him is how strong he was. Large hands wrapped easily around my forearms and ribcage so tightly my arms became useless T-Rex arms. The way he mobilized me with one hand while touching the zip tie to my wrist demonstrated experience. And he smelled like garlic cooked until it started to burn. Useless things to know about a person. Got you, Caroline. The trunk slams closed before I think to tell him my name is Angie. Once again, I'm failing at something. Last week, I signed my divorce papers because I wasn't even my husband's top choice for sex. Today, I got reorganized out of my job because of my mediocrity. Now, I'm not even the right kidnap victim. If I don't upstage my abductor, I'll die. Time to be the best for once. As the car reverses, my face slams into something hard. A stream of thick liquid courses down my lip. Leave DNA, I told myself. So I wiped my blood on the carpet of his trunk. Listening for clues doesn't help. No street sounds make it to my ears. However, since I don't usually ride in trunks, I don't know how soundproof they are. Being scared was something I used to chase. Haunted houses and horror films were my drugs. That Angie died 10 minutes ago. Now I'm trapped in the trunk of a man that smells like burnt garlic, and I don't like being scared. This is just the beginning. Worse things are going to happen. The stuff on true crime dramas that I listen to with a detachment thinking, at least I never leave a bar and walk to my car alone. Instead, I drove home to the Whispering Hills apartment complex, casually opened the car door, climbed out, turned around to reach for my purse, and then I was in a trunk. Did I even scream? Does anybody know I'm in trouble? Just try to escape, I command myself. New car should have a way to open the trunk from the inside. Moving my body like a drunken merry-go-round, legs, then shoulders, then hips, each in a painful hop, I stop in a position that puts me closer to where I assume such a lever would be. But my arms are tied behind me, so I wiggle myself into a child's yoga pose to use my bound hands to feel around. Not working. 3 inches above my back is all I manage to raise my arms. Turning onto my back, I hit my head on the roof of the trunk and drove my shin into something hard and metal. There is no room to maneuver. Kicking off my sandals, I push my feet up, feeling for anything sticking out where I think a release handle might be. More dexterous than I give it credit for, my big toe wraps inside a loop and pulls. The trunk lid pops open. Peeking out, I see a dark reality. Darkness, an empty, lonely road. No chance of rescue. The yellow lines flick past, or is it more correct to say I flick past the yellow lines? Focus, Angie. When I jump, it will hurt. Death might be below me on those yellow lines. Worse, I might break a leg and be even more vulnerable when he finds me. Intentionally hurting myself takes more courage than I expected. To overcome this, I let myself think about the future, the inevitability of the act that 25% of women experience. The fear of what he plans to do to me builds until the fear of the future is worse than the fear of hitting the road. Curling myself into a ball, I finally purposefully fall out. As my body hits the ground, I realize the tires are no longer moving. Unbound legs get me on my feet, and I start running. Voices explode, mixed with slamming car doors. That's not Caroline, you. Then the sound of a bullet and a sudden force propels me into a deep ravine. A primal animal instinct tells me to climb back up the ravine. Hands still bound behind me, one arm no longer working, and blood making my shirt sticky. I roll to the wall of the ravine I just came down. Pushing myself against the wall of the dirt and brush, I inch for and up the incline, grabbing branches with my teeth as my feet find a foothold. Voices above incapacitate me. Too dark. I can't see, Burnt Garlic says. Another voice, just shoot around. There's traffic on the road and you have to go get Caroline. Don't get left behind. Be quick. Bullets struck so close to my legs. Dirt rained against my calves. Eventually, my muscles unclenched and I returned to my inchworm pace up the incline. My bare toes claw into the earth and my mouth substitutes for my hands. There's no memory of the climb out, but climb out I did. When the sun broke over the sky, a farmer saw my bloody form at the top of the ravine. As I awake, I see a plastic tube that ties me into a bag of liquid dripping into my veins. Despite my blurry vision and my aching head, I realize I'm in the hospital. A news program playing on the small TV in my room narrates a version of my trauma. Reported missing from the Whispering Hills apartment last night, Caroline Watt's body has been found in a ravine near Highway 70. Police are asking for the nightmare I lived and survived. Caroline did not. In the universe of women abducted by men who smell like burnt garlic, I ended up in a ravine. I'm the winner. Guess you could say I finally clawed my way to the top. And that last one is called Not Caroline, and I'm going to call it Locked in a Trunk. All right, so in just a minute, I'm going to share that link for you in the chat. Thank you, everybody, for participating here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, wait, that was 9. I think I have one more. I'm sorry. We can do one more. All right, here we go. Blind ambition. I was going a little bit. We're going to go a little bit over our time. I'm sorry. A name is usually the first thing we learn about a person, paired with a handshake, a cordial introduction. Social etiquette makes my skin crawl. Hell, any social interaction, if I'm being honest. Glancing at a toe tag is the best introduction. Childhood obsessions of taxidermy and etymology convinced my parents to push me into the medical field, always coaxing me to be at the top, the best. Luckily, I have the brains for it. No bedside manner, though. Pathology allows me to placate mommy and daddy while still following my passions. Somewhat legally. The elevator doors open. An orderly wearing a mask, glove, and goggles delivers another corpse trolley. A nod of the head dismisses him, and I set to work. Even through latex gloves, the body's warm. The freshness of death never unnerves me. All part of the job, I guess. Leaving them out until they cool is my preference, but admin wants results fast. Maybe it's the horror stories I read as a kid, or the nights I stayed up past my bedtime watching Mysteries of the Unknown episodes. The one about scratch marks inside coffins or strings attached to bells hanging above ground for the deceased to ring, just in case they've been buried alive, were my favorites. Wishful thinking or someone's premeditated sick pleasure. The recent uptick of young corpses means mandatory examinations, especially when the bodies are residency docs. The administration department is deeming me a hero, selfless, willing to risk my life by volunteering to perform the autopsies, limiting the spread of the infestation, killing off their beloved new physicians. Maybe they should remember we older physicians are still worthy around here. Ambitious, competitive, mercenary, altruism is never my modus operandi. Wouldn't mommy and daddy be proud? After pulling the chart up on a nearby monitor, I flick a switch on the wall. A red bulb glows and a camera lens zooms into focus. Lifting the toe tag, and then the necropsy begins. July 17th, 2033, 9:56 a.m. Patient Dr. Samuel Rivers died July 17th, 2033, 7:18 a.m. Bunching the sheet down over the deceased's feet, my spine tingles. Bright LED lights overhead gleam off the body. Sharp blades and metal instruments lining a stainless steel tray glow. A godlike euphoria washes over me as I select a scalpel. The next 2 hours are spent meticulously dissecting Samuel for my audience. Years of practice honed my skills, and I have no qualms about showing off. Squelching and sucking noises fill the silence as I poke around the open cavity. Organs are normal in size and color for a 27-year-old male. No critical disease noted in the esophagus or stomach. Placing x ray films from the trolley drawer onto the light box behind me, I glance at the computer screen and proceed. Vertebrae C1 and C2 show signs of fracture, confirming trauma from a fall. Taking a deep breath, I look into the camera and tighten the strap on my goggles. The next procedure is what they're waiting to see. A curt nod lets my captive audience know it's time to discover if this haughty bastard succumbed to the new breed of parasites. Grabbing a wire speculum, I wedge the upper lid of Samuel's left eye into the clamp. Tugging, I'm convinced the hold is strong before scooping the edges of his lower lid into the vise. Satisfied, I move to his right eye. Digging the clamp's teeth under each lid, I force it open. Both eyes are as wide as saucers now, like he's seen a ghost. Despite the gravity of the situation, I cough to stifle a laugh and regain composure before continuing. Faint movement is present behind each iris. The eyeballs are misshapen, bulging. The scalpel's point pokes at the right eyeball, meaning resistance. The sclera is taut. Without hesitation, I sink the tip of the blade into the swollen orb. Thick white exudate oozes out. Before I could speak, they appear. Inch-long gray worms spill from the gap, wriggling in clumps onto Samuel's cheek. Looking at the camera for confirmation, I insert the blade into his left eye. Another bundle of slithering larvae emerges from its optic incubator. The smile under my mask is hard to contain. Keep it together a little longer. Facing the camera, I clear my throat. Probable cause of death is spinal cord trauma due to cervical fractures, secondary to sudden onset blindness due to optical parasites. This concludes the examination by Dr. Jamie Netler, July 17, 2033, at 12:05 p.m. Countless hours spent breeding a mature adult capable of asexual reproduction is paying off. Holding a specimen cup near Samuel's face, I snatch his writhing nymph with bayonet forceps. Securing the lid, no container can be set to the lab, no fingerprints, no trail. Flicking the switch off, the red light fades to black. Slipping the forceps deep into the right eye socket, the orb rises just enough to insert a curved scissor to snip it free. Squeezing the eyeball, the cut opens like an old change purse. Legs emerge, and I pinch the creature with my fingertips to remove it. Holding it before my goggles, pride swells in my chest. Well done, my little friend. Yellow bile surfaces as I crutch its abdomen. Tossing the carcass and ruined eyeball into the biohazard bin, I repeat the process for the left eye. How many of the eggs deposited in the residency linen cabinet will hatch and produce optical clutches? Visions of awards and accolades flood my mind. The climb to the top is never easy. What's that phrase? Something about breaking a few eggs? Perfect. Stitching Samuel back together grounds me in the present. Once the body cavity and eye sockets are stitched shut, I drape him with the sheet, curtain closed. If only my parents could see me now, making a name for myself. How would I tell them about my magnificent, malevolent ascent? Guess you could say I finally clawed my way to the top. All right, so that is the final one. I apologize for that confusion there. I obviously do not want to leave that last one out. That one is known as Blind Ambition, and that one will be known as, I'll put it in as Parasite. Okay, so that being said, it should work now. Let me just double check that the link is A-OK, and then I will share. Yep. So I'm going to throw it into the chat. You have a few minutes to make a decision. Oh, congratulations. If you were one of the finalists, go ahead and let the audience know because I do not read names just in case somebody doesn't want to know. It also could affect the voting, right? Because some people know each other. So I don't want to reveal that until the end or let them reveal it for themselves. But yes, go ahead and follow that survey. Somebody's asking, is there a place where you can read every submission? No, we don't publicly release all of them, but if you are an AutoCrit Pro member, we certainly recommend going into the community and doing just that. Go ahead and let everybody know what you did. Of course, the other thing is too is sometimes people will want to actually submit this in some other sort of situation, like a publishing house or something, right? So there you go. All right. Keep in mind tonight at 7 p.m. is going to be our fantasy sci-fi club. We are going to be reading bad stories, or at least stories that are probably bad because they are lurking in the depths of Amazon. So we like to do that. We like to go into the depths of Amazon, find out what are some of the books that are not performing well, and maybe get some ideas as to why that is the case. Of course, it can also be a little bit of fun sometimes because works like that can be kind of crazy. So, kind of Mystery Science Theater 3000 y, but really it's a learning opportunity to find out some of the things you may not want to do. Tomorrow, we have a very special horror workshop that we're going to be doing with Gareth, and that is going to be a horror settings workshop. Let me go ahead and throw out that link as well to that. Hold on here. I need to find that really quick. I apologize. I should have had that set up. But we have a special sign up for that. You do have to be an AutoCrit Pro member in order to join one of these workshops. However, in this situation, with Halloween approaching next month, we decided to open up to a larger group. So if you so desire, you in fact can join us for that workshop, whether or not you're an AutoCrit Pro member or not. And so I'll go ahead and throw that link there in the chat. Feel free to do so. No charge for that. It is a complimentary workshop. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put the survey up again. We're going to have a few more minutes here. Sorry, going a little bit longer today. On at 11 a.m. on Mondays is the Accountability Club, and that's where you can join me and you can get some writing tips. You do some writing exercises and a 15-minute writing sprint. And of course, you can join our cast of secret agents here. Actual screenshot now. From our mystery club, we do Mondays at 8:30 p.m. Of course, we just recently kicked off a Mystery Mind course a couple of weeks ago, and so you can always join that as well. And we'll have more Mystery Mind courses in the future as well. So if you write mystery, I know we had some mystery participants. If you write romance, we have a romance course that is coming up tomorrow, Penning Passion. All right. And if you'd like to know more about that, if you head over to the Academy page, which is found on autocrit.com, you can learn about all the educational opportunities coming in the future. All right, I wanted to give everybody some time to figure out what it is that they wanted to vote for. Sometimes it can be awfully close. Let's see how many results we had here. All right, so we have a pretty good response of everybody. And let's see if we have a clear winner. We do, in fact, have a very clear winner. This is probably the biggest majority that we ever have had. But before I reveal the grand winner, I will talk about the runners up. So in third place was a tie of a Stolen, which was the Shifter Grizzly. That was, I believe, the first story read. And Not Caroline, which was the second to last story read. And then the second place was Trains Don't Wait for Impractical Boots. Number one was, and I'm not really surprised based on the chat, was Much Ado About Muffins, which is the Bitter Declawed Cat. I do like that because we don't often have as much comedy. So it was nice to see a comedy winner. And I really do. You'll notice we have people in our community of all different flavors, all different styles. I love the diversity. Keep that diversity coming. As you can see, we really try not to let it affect us. Some of us are in certain genres, but we really do try to look for what is quality, no matter whether or not it's the genre we read or not. And so always get involved in these challenges and try to write what you love the most. Don't make assumptions about necessarily what we would like, because we might be more open minded than you think. All right. Yay for Jim. You got second. I don't know if the muffins author is here. Oh, yes. Yes. I believe that was you, Charles, right? You wrote muffins. Congratulations. All right, fantastic. Yes, there is a horror course starting in October. If you write horror, if you're like, or if you want to write horror similar to that last one, that was pretty horrific. Please join us for Nightmare Fuel. Nightmare Fuel has Gareth. It has material from Rain Hall. I can go ahead and throw that in the chat as well. Certainly is a great course to join us for. Garrett does a spectacular job, and I really recommend it. So, yes, you can find that in the chat if you so want to join us for that. And there's going to be more about horror if you stay tuned to this channel. On Friday, we have a upcoming live stream with a horror guest. So make sure, like I said before, like and subscribe and hit the bell and all of that. On Friday, we have writing horror, blood, sweat, tears, and more blood coming your way. And it's an interview with David Sodergreen or Sodergreen. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, and I apologize for that. But yes, we have that coming up on Friday. So make sure you join us for that. All right. Thank you so much. Yay, Demon Fry Cook. Woohoo! Enjoyed the stories. I believe you had one that was read as well. It was tough. I'm seeing names of people and they're like, I didn't make it in. I know, but it was close. It was very close. And it was a high quality uh, uh, last group of people. So please don't be too discouraged if you didn't make it in. We had a lot of great candidates this time. And I'm really looking forward to what everybody brings to the table in the next challenge. So again, I keep saying it, but like, subscribe, hit the bell. It's all good, and we'll see you around the AutoCrit community. All right, bye everybody. Thank you so much.